into behavior of states. So the fact, to me, it's not just that China, these two countries went to China and worked out some arrangement. We'll have to see, how that arrangement progresses. It's also the thinking in the region itself, that if you see at one level, you can say it says something about China, but it also says something about Saudi Arabia, maybe something about Iran as well. And so I would say it's a very good illustration of these changes that I have been trying to project. That, the day when there were dominant powers and they would be dominant forever and their writ would run, that whole period is undergoing a change. And a large part of this change will be much more regional developments, regional solutions, regional autonomous players.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Sarika. India has a growing diaspora around the world, which contributes significantly to the country's economic, social, and cultural development. How does the government engage with the diaspora, and what role do they play in India's foreign policy?
Well, I think, as you can see from my remarks itself, the diaspora obviously plays a very prominent role. The diaspora is a big asset, and therefore diaspora also deserves to be a very serious responsibility of the country and the government. It's not a simple matter because there are many sensitivities involved here. By definition, diaspora lives abroad, it lives in other countries. There are many complications that arise out of that. But overall, if you see, our effort in the last 10 years has been to connect more deeply with them, to keep that bond with the mother country strong, to encourage them to contribute in whatever way they are comfortable, to ensure that they have the facilities, the access, which they rightfully deserve. And and sometimes there are distress situations because diaspora is in income terms, it's a very broad spectrum. There would be a big part of the diaspora are blue-collar workers who may often require direct support in moments of distress. So we actually have created a fund which has been very effective in dealing with individual cases. It could be people who lost their jobs and can't come back. Sometimes, people who unfortunately passed away, how do you bring the body back? Or sometimes even, women who want legal representation abroad. So I would say that degree of support and energy, attention they are getting is very, very high. But I also want to take this opportunity to plug something on my own behalf, okay? I have one more responsibility. I'm the Minister for Passports, okay? I'm one of the few foreign ministries in the world which actually issues passports. And I want all of you to I'll leave this thought with you because the younger people would not understand necessarily what I'm saying. When I joined the Foreign Service, in my colony, the word went around, okay, there's some guy who's going to be able to get us a passport. Okay. Yeah. Now, and the reason for that was those days, it would take months, sometimes years to get a passport. Okay. You actually had to know somebody to get a passport. You had to have somebody in the government who would certify that you are really you in order for that piece of paper to be accepted. Now, today, if you look at, I'm proud of one thing where our foreign ministry is concerned. When it comes to digital governance, when it comes to delivery of public goods, I would say the pioneering program on this has actually been the way we have changed passport delivery. But we have changed it in a very innovative way. We used to have less than 100 passport centers. Today we are more than 500. But I didn't build a single building. Okay? What Prime Minister Modi told us was, he said, there are all those post offices out there. These guys don't have enough work to do. So you go and make all of them part of your passport issual services. So today the post offices are my passport centers. The postal employee is helping me process passport. It's to me, a very novel way of actually, this maxim of minimum government, maximum governance. It's a very good example of that.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Palkin Gupta. What are the strategies for aligning our foreign policy with our economic interests?
Today our economic interests drive our foreign policy. They're not the only driver, but I would say for sure they are the primary driver. And they are the primary driver because when I spoke about if I were auditing our own history, which are the areas we have done well, where have we come up a bit short, I would say we did not put enough effort into making our economic interest the centerpiece of our interaction with the world. And that's changed. It's changed in multiple ways. I again will give you an example of that. Just as we were coming out of COVID, we were very confident that the economy would recover fast because I think we used our finances very, very prudently. We used it to not just support our population at a moment of difficulty, but do so in a manner in which the economic recovery became faster, including through the food support and the various, informal sector support that we did. Now, at this time, in fact, Prime Minister Modi got after us saying, I want you people to really ramp up exports. Okay. Because exports, especially Indian exports, have an enormous employment consequence. So when you are actually pushing exports, you are not just improving your numbers. You are down, at the sort of factory level. You are actually creating jobs, you are facilitating that process of recovery. So we had something very unusual happen. Usually when you do this, improving the exports, this is the Commerce Minister's job, okay? So the first thing was, and partly because I myself done the commercial representation abroad in an embassy, I also joined in because we wanted Foreign Ministry, Commerce Ministry to work together. Somewhere along the way, the Prime Minister said, no, I'm also coming in. And we actually, for the first time in our history, had all our embassies online with directly the Prime Minister saying, look, this is your #1 task. I want you guys, ambassador downwards, to get to work and see how we push up exports. We had set on the good side, which set a target of 400 billion, which would have been the highest we did. We exceeded it, I think, by about 10%. And today, if you see, the export push, the technology push, the best practices push, the collaborations push, when you look at how, Make in India is done, often by companies who are, coming from outside. I mean, I mentioned Apple. We can see this in sectors like medical devices, aviation. So I would say, for me, a much more economic-centric foreign policy is very much the flip side of that change that I was talking about at home.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from the Department of Languages, Anshula Ravi. Our area of study involves languages, culture, and mediation. As a former diplomat, what advice do you have for us students who aspire to be mediators between different cultures?
You know, look, I am a bad speaker of many languages. Okay? The main reason is actually in terms of